Something big is brewing, and it's not just the rising prices at your local store. Behind the scenes, ports are stalling, farms are struggling, and key shipping routes are facing silent disruptions. While the media distracts you with everyday noise, the real warning signs are already flashing, and the government knows it. Quiet moves are being made, stockpiles are shifting, but no one's telling you what's really coming. That's why in this video we're exposing 8 critical foods you need to buy before July hits. These aren't hyped-up survival fads, they're smart, shelf-stable essentials that can carry your household through the unexpected. Don't wait for headlines to catch up. Once shortages hit, it's too late to prepare. Prices will spike and shelves will clear out fast. But you can get ahead of the storm now with calm, confident action. The clock is ticking. Let's talk about what you need to buy, why it matters, and how to keep your pantry protected from what's coming next. 1. Long-grain rice, the quiet powerhouse you can't afford to ignore. If there's one food item that deserves a top spot in your emergency pantry before July rolls in, it's long-grain rice. This humble grain might not look like much, but it's a powerhouse when it comes to survival value, affordability, and shelf life. And right now, all signs point to massive disruptions that could send rice prices soaring. Let's break it down. Global agriculture is under intense pressure. Droughts, shipping slowdowns, and rising input costs are hitting all at once. In the U.S., the Colorado River crisis is squeezing water supplies from major crop-producing states. That's pushing fresh vegetable production down, and when lettuce and broccoli vanish from store shelves, people turn to affordable, dry staples, like rice, to fill the gap. Meanwhile, international fertilizer markets are tightening. China's phosphate exports have been throttled for months. And while rice isn't as fertilizer-hungry as corn, those rising input costs are already creeping into the grain market. Countries like India and Thailand, major exporters of rice, are trimming back on supply. And it's creating a domino effect that's tightening global availability. But here's what most people are missing. The freight situation is a ticking time bomb. With the Panama Canal facing water shortages and ships being rerouted thousands of miles, global shipping costs are spiking. Add in strict new fuel regulations and you've got a recipe for long delays and higher food prices, especially for bulk imports like rice. The smart move? Stock up now, while prices are still reasonable. Long-grain rice stores beautifully for the long haul, especially when sealed in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers or packed in food-grade buckets. You can stash it away for 2 years or more, no refrigeration needed. It's calorie-dense, easy to cook with minimal fuel or water, and incredibly versatile when paired with beans, canned veggies, or protein. This isn't a luxury item, it's a strategic staple. As global systems tighten, rice will become the go-to fallback for households everywhere. Those who prepare ahead of time will avoid the shock of rising prices and empty shelves. The window is closing. Buy your rice before July, the clock's ticking, and the smart ones are already filling their buckets. 2. Vegetable oil in tins, liquid gold you'll wish you bought sooner. If you're building a smart pantry before July, vegetable oil, especially in tins, needs to be at the top of your list. This isn't just about having something to fry eggs or bake with. Vegetable oil is a vital, high-calorie, multi-use food item that quietly holds your food system together. And right now, the global signals are flashing red. Here's the deal. The world's major vegetable oil producers, countries like Brazil, Argentina, and parts of Southeast Asia, are dealing with a cocktail of disasters. Droughts, crop disease, and labor shortages have slowed down soy and sunflower oil production. In Brazil, a brutal combination of low river levels and infrastructure stress has made it harder to get oil exports out through ports. Add in outbreaks like avian flu disrupting the broader ag sector, and you've got a slow-moving crisis in the making. But it doesn't stop there. The Panama Canal, one of the key shipping routes for bulk goods, is operating at reduced capacity thanks to a persistent drought. Ships carrying vegetable oil are either waiting in massive backlogs or detouring thousands of miles around Africa, racking up fuel bills and delays. And speaking of fuel, new international regulations are forcing shipping fleets to use cleaner but more expensive fuel. That means transportation costs are skyrocketing for bulk goods like oil. The result? You'll soon see fewer choices on store shelves and much higher prices at checkout. So why tins? Most store-bought oils come in clear plastic bottles that degrade quickly when exposed to heat or light. Tin oil, on the other hand, is far more durable. It blocks light, resists temperature swings, and lasts well over a year without refrigeration. That makes it perfect for garage storage or emergency shelves. Vegetable oil also delivers high calories in small amounts, making it essential in any emergency meal plan. From frying, baking, to stretching out dry goods like rice and beans, it's one of the most versatile and underrated prep items out there. Stock up on tinned oil before the rush hits, because once supply tightens, this liquid gold will be one of the first things to disappear. 3 ways coarse salt, the silent survival staple you'll regret ignoring. Coarse salt might seem too ordinary to worry about, but when the system starts cracking, this humble mineral becomes a lifeline. If you're prepping your pantry before July, adding coarse salt is one of the smartest, most overlooked moves you can make. Let's get one thing straight. Coarse salt doesn't expire. Properly stored, it lasts forever, and we mean forever. Like fancy spices or fragile packaged goods, salt is chemically stable, moisture-resistant, especially in coarse form, and holds up incredibly well in warm garages, basements, or pantries. But there's more to it than that. Salt isn't just a seasoning. It's a preservation powerhouse. When the fridge goes dark, salt can keep your food safe. Think pickling, curing meat, fermenting veggies, or preserving cheese and dairy alternatives. These time-tested methods were survival staples long before refrigeration, and in a grid-down or inflation-driven world, they'll be essential again. And for all of them, coarse salt is the key ingredient. So why the urgency now? Global freight routes are a mess, fuel prices are up, shipping lanes like the Panama Canal are restricted due to drought, and new environmental rules are making marine transport more expensive than ever. Bulk goods like salt, low cost but high value, are the first to feel the squeeze. Shipping companies prioritize higher margin items, and salt just doesn't make the cut when space gets tight. Add in the risk of panic buying, especially during unexpected policy shifts or supply scares, and salt can vanish overnight. We've seen it happen before. In rural areas and small towns, it's often one of the first items to disappear and the last to get restocked. Retailers don't rush to refill shelves with bulky, low-profit items like salt, so once it's gone, it may stay. Stocking up now gives you a high-utility, space-efficient staple that supports preservation, flavor, and even electrolyte balance in emergencies. A few kilos of coarse salt in sealed containers can carry your household through long disruptions. Don't wait for headlines to tell you it's important. Coarse salt is a quiet essential, and the smart ones will grab it before it slips away. 4. Powdered milk, the no-fridge essential that could save your pantry. Think powdered milk is just a backup for when you run out of fresh? Think again. In 2025, this shelf-stable dairy alternative is quietly becoming a must-have staple, and if you wait until July to buy it, you may be out of luck. Here's why powdered milk is rising fast on the prepper priority list. Our cold chain is under serious threat. Refrigerated goods like fresh milk rely on a seamless line of temperature control, from farms to trucks to store shelves. But with this year's hurricane season forecasted to be above normal, ports on the East Coast are at high risk of temporary shutdowns. Just one storm can derail the flow of perishable goods, and when it happens, fresh milk is always one of the first items to vanish. Even without weather events, the refrigerated supply chain is buckling under pressure. Rising fuel prices and new environmental rules from both the International Maritime Organization and the EU are making it more expensive to transport cold goods. That cost is passed directly to you, and the impact on dairy products is already visible. But powdered milk? It bypasses all of that. No refrigeration required. It ships easily in dry freight. That's why schools, institutions, and even government stockpiles are turning to it as their dairy of choice. On top of this, the animal agriculture sector is showing cracks. Brazil's ongoing bird flu outbreak isn't just a poultry problem. It's a warning sign for what disease, heat waves, and feed shortages can do to dairy herds. If cattle health falters or feed prices spike, expect fresh milk and cheese to skyrocket in price or disappear altogether. Powdered milk gives you dairy without the risk. It's nutrient-rich, delivering protein, calcium, and vitamins like D and A. You can drink it, cook with it, or use it to stretch other pantry ingredients. Stored correctly in cans or foil-lined bags, powdered milk can last 2 to 5 years, making it one of the most efficient and reliable prep items on the market. Don't overlook this one. Stock up now and skip the panic when dairy aisles go empty. Powdered milk isn't a backup anymore. It's a survival essential. 5. Oatmeal, the underrated survival staple flying under the radar. If you haven't stocked up on oatmeal yet, you're overlooking one of the smartest, most versatile foods you can add to your pantry before July. It's not flashy, it's not trendy, but But when the supply chain stumbles, and it's already starting to, oatmeal becomes a quiet powerhouse of food security. Why? Because oats are one of the few grains less vulnerable to the chaos currently gripping global agriculture. While corn and soy are struggling under the weight of fertilizer shortages, droughts, and export bans, oats remain relatively stable. They're grown in cooler climates, need far less water, and don't rely heavily on chemical fertilizers. That means they're less exposed to the ripple effects of the phosphate export restrictions coming out of China in 2025. But even oats aren't immune. Farmers in North America and Europe are trimming back fertilizer use across the board, which could bring lower yields, even for reliable crops like oats. And with freight prices rising fast, especially for bulk dry goods, the cost of packaged oatmeal is starting to climb. Between the Panama Canal delays and the high-risk hurricane season in the Atlantic, grain transport is getting pricier, slower, and far more volatile. Once those costs hit the distributors, you'll see it at the store level. Here's the good news. Oatmeal is easy to store, lasts for years, and needs almost nothing to prepare. Whether you're using rolled oats or quick oats, they can be soaked overnight or cooked with minimal heat. No fridge, no complex tools, just add water. It pairs perfectly with powdered milk, honey, dried fruits, or nuts, giving you variety without complexity. Packed with fiber, slow-burning carbs, and enough protein to keep you going, oatmeal delivers real fuel, without refrigeration and without stress. Stored in airtight containers, it stays fresh for up to 2 years or more. In a time when food stability is starting to slip, oatmeal offers low-risk, high-return. Don't wait for headlines about grain shortages or price hikes. Stock up now while it's still easy to find and affordable. Oatmeal isn't just breakfast anymore, it's a survival essential. Stick around, because the comfort carb that's quietly vanishing, Durum wheat pasta might just be the most underestimated food you can add to your emergency pantry before July. And here's why it's quickly becoming a top-tier prepper essential. We're in a period of rising grain instability. Between fertilizer shortages, export restrictions, and shipping chaos, the global wheat market is under serious strain. But unlike soft wheat used in bread and pastries, Durum wheat, the base of real pasta, has some survival superpowers. It's protein-rich, dense, and built to last. Properly stored, pasta can stay fresh and edible for up to 3 years, needing no refrigeration and no special storage tricks. Right now, farmers across the US, Canada, and Europe are scaling back on wheat crops. Why? Because phosphate fertilizers, crucial for strong grain yields, are getting harder to find and more expensive. China's continued chokehold on phosphate exports and delays at key Moroccan ports are squeezing supply just as costs for fuel, seed, and shipping soar. And that brings us to the next problem: transport. Bulk pasta usually ships efficiently because it's lightweight and compact, but that's changing. The Panama Canal is still operating under water restrictions, and global freight lines are being rerouted around Africa or across overloaded U.S. rail systems. Combine that with new environmental fuel rules jacking up shipping prices, and guess what? The price of pasta is rising fast. Durum pasta isn't just a fallback, it's becoming a primary carb source in countries where bakery costs have jumped due to energy hikes, flour price spikes, and workforce shortages. And when people start reaching for longer lessening budget-friendly foods, pasta shelves empty. We've seen it during every recent crisis, from COVID lockdowns to inflation waves. And it's happening again. The best part? Pasta is incredibly easy to store, cook, and customize. Boil with a bit of salt, mix with oil or canned goods, and you've got a filling meal. It works across cultures, cuts food boredom, and stores cleanly in airtight containers. Don't wait for the shelves to go bare. If there's one comfort food that turns into a crisis staple overnight, it's pasta. Stock up on Durum wheat varieties now before the crunch hits. 7. Granulated sugar, the sweet staple that could soon go sour. Granulated sugar might seem like the last thing to worry about, but if you're preparing for what's coming, it's one of the smartest bulk buys you can make before July hits. It's not just for coffee or cookies. Sugar plays a major role in long-term food prep, preservation, and emergency energy needs. And right now, the warning signs are flashing. Here's the reality: sugar is deeply tied to global shipping routes. And that's where the real problem starts. Most of the sugar on store shelves in North America and Europe comes from cane fields in Brazil, India, and Central America. It doesn't get here by magic. It arrives via cargo ships that rely heavily on the Panama Canal, which is currently struggling through one of its worst droughts in decades. Water levels are so low that ships are being forced to wait in massive queues or pay record-setting fees up to $4 million 0 cents just to skip the line. Others are taking the long route around Africa, adding weeks of delay and major fuel costs. Bulk items like raw sugar are now facing serious slowdowns, and the financial strain is already being passed down through the supply chain. Sugar futures have already begun to climb, and food manufacturers are bracing for shortages. Many refineries are struggling to maintain steady output as raw materials trickle in, slower and more expensively than expected. That means supermarket prices could jump quickly and quietly by mid-summer, and once the price jumps, it rarely comes back down. Why is sugar so vital for prepper? It stores for years without refrigeration, doesn't spoil, and serves multiple purposes: preserving fruits, aiding fermentation, baking, or simply adding calories when you need quick energy. It's lightweight, compact, and easy to store in airtight containers. In an emergency, even a spoonful of sugar can stabilize blood sugar and lift energy levels. Right now, sugar is still affordable and easy to find. But for how long? Stock up while it's still on the shelves and reasonably priced. A few large bags of granulated sugar today could mean the difference between a stressed-out pantry and a well-equipped kitchen tomorrow. 8 canned chicken and turkey, the protein lifeline you'll need when things get tight. If there's one protein source you absolutely want on your shelves before July, it's canned chicken and turkey. These aren't just convenience items, they're becoming a frontline defense against rising meat prices and global shortages that are already in motion. Let's get real. Fresh meat is fragile. It relies on cold storage, fast transport, and flawless supply chains. And in 2025, none of that is guaranteed. The world's largest poultry exporter, Brazil, is currently battling a serious outbreak of avian flu, this time hitting major commercial farms. That's not just bad news locally, it's sending shockwaves across the globe. Within weeks, countries like China, South Korea, and the entire European Union slapped temporary bans on Brazilian poultry imports. And while those bans might be labeled temporary, the market reaction is anything but. Every time a major exporter is sidelined, demand ricochets to other suppliers, and prices spike. That's why canned poultry is now a strategic food asset. Unlike frozen chicken, which can vanish overnight in a panic or spoil during a power outage, canned chicken and turkey are shelf-stable, versatile, and ready to eat right out of the can. You can toss them into soups, mix with pasta or rice, or use them as a protein boost in wraps or salads. No cooking required, no freezer needed. With a shelf life of up to 5 years, these cans hold their value and nutrition far longer than fresh meat ever could. Plus, they're easy to rotate into your regular meals, so you don't waste a single can. Here's what's coming. As international supplies tighten and frozen meat prices surge, canned options will fly off the shelves. If bans extend or more outbreaks happen in other poultry deportation nations, the pressure will only increase. Right now, prices are still manageable, but that window is closing. Secure your supply now before governments shift policies, shelves thin out, and prices catch up to reality. Canned chicken and turkey aren't just meal savers anymore, they're pantry insurance. And smart households will grab them before everyone else realizes what's coming. By now, you've seen the bigger picture. These 8 foods aren't just pantry fillers. They're your first line of defense against the disruptions already rippling through our global food system. Governments see it, supply chains feel it, and prices are already shifting. The difference between being prepared and being caught off guard comes down to what you do right now. This isn't about fear, it's about foresight. Each of these items, Reese vegetable oil in tins, coarse salt, powdered milk, oatmeal, pasta, sugar, and canned meats, brings long shelf life, high utility, and real value when times get tough. These foods are vanishing quietly, not all at once, but by the time the shelves are bare, it'll be too late to act. If you wait for the news to confirm the crisis, you'll be part of the panic. But if you prepare now, calmly, smartly, you'll be ahead of the curve. You'll have food security, you'll have peace of mind. And most importantly, you won't have to scramble when the system stumbles. So take action today. Buy what you need before July. Because what's coming isn't a maybe, it's already unfolding.